So for all of you who don't know me, my name is Chandler Jordan, and I am the program director at SC Economics. SC Economics is a nonprofit organization that is put together to offer you guys economic and personal finance resources, as well as an array of contests and competitions for your students. And so tonight we have an awesome guest with us. Megan Freiberger is here from Meadow Glen Middle School in Lexington 1. And she is a huge advocate for SC Economic programming. And she has been involved in so many things that we do as an organization. And so we're so excited to have her on board tonight. She is also one of our South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teachers. And so she'll tell you a little bit more about that towards the end. But not to take up any more time, I'm going to hand it over to Megan, and she's going to talk a little bit about how to play the stock market game in your classroom.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I am Megan Freiberger, and tonight's webinar might look a little different in the fact that I currently have COVID. So not to be dramatic or anything, but really my only symptom has been I get a little winded when I start talking a lot, and especially when I get a little excited, I forget to breathe. So I have pre-recorded me going through the slides, so hopefully you won't really notice that it's pre-recorded. Just know that I'm here live in person. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, thank you again for joining us tonight. I'm going to be talking about how to play the stock market game in your classroom, both your in-person classrooms and virtual classrooms if you fit into that category. So I apologize that I am not presenting this live, but just know I am on the webinar right now. So I'll be kind of manning the chat. If you have any questions, you can drop those in the chat and I can answer those in live time, and we can always pause the recording if there are any major questions and I can address those. So just a little about myself. My name is Megan Freiberger, and I am a virtual middle school math teacher in Lexington 1. Our virtual school is called Lexington 1 Online Learning Academy, so LULA for short. Some fun facts. I think teachers always find this exciting, but I did marry my high school sweetheart. We went to Lexington High School in Lexington 1. We've been married for almost 4 years in April. My background is kind of very diverse as far as my education. So I have my bachelor's in elementary education, and then I went on to get my add-on in middle level math. And then I have 2 master's degrees, one in sport and entertainment management and one in learning and technology. And I'm also a South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teacher. I think I'm cohort 2. So shout out if there's any other cohort 2 teachers out there. And then I also have just a handful of other certifications. I really am a lifelong learner. So anytime I see another opportunity, I definitely go for it. So I also have my add-on in business ed, which I'll kind of tell you in a second how that ties in with me playing the stock market game. Another major fun fact is I'm 8 months pregnant. And of course, I am a true lover of the stock market game. And hopefully by the end of this, my love for the stock market will be contagious and you'll want to sign up if you've never played before. So go ahead in the chat, go ahead and just tell everyone, you don't have to send it to me in a private message, but just tell everyone what school district you're coming from, what grade or subject you teach, and if you've played the stock market game before. And if you want to say how many years, then go for it. So while y'all are typing those, if you see anyone from your school district, feel free to give them a shout out, and I'll give you around 20 more seconds to get those in. So just kind of be looking at the chat, seeing, who all is in here with us tonight. All right, and if you haven't gotten those in, feel free to continue typing and send those in so that I can see them live as well. Okay, so before I go into really how to play the stock market game, I just kind of wanted to share my background with how I got involved and just what it means to me as a teacher to participate in the stock market game. So my second year teaching, I was teaching fourth grade out in Batesburg, and one of my teacher friends, she knew, my background in, sport and entertainment management, which is basically a business degree, just kind of with a sports title. But she knew that I was interested in econ and finance accounting, all of that good stuff. So she told me she was participating that year. She had done it before, and she thought maybe it'd be something I'd be interested in. So I gave it a try that first year. Absolutely loved it. I kind of learned alongside with my students, my fourth graders. They taught me a lot. They actually found a website that I call the secret sauce that I'll be sharing with you later. And then just a really cool story. It's like top 5 story of my teaching career. I've only been teaching 5 years, but it's right up there at the top. So this middle picture was my first team that participated, and they did come in first place. So when I was setting up teams, I decided to let them choose their teams by putting names on a note card that they would want to be on a team with. And I told them, I would do my best to put them on a team with who they wanted to be with, but to be open-minded if they got put, with some new friends. So I had about 6 teams, and 5 of the 6 teams were, picked by them. The note cards came in and they had their whole team lined up. There was one group of 4 students who, for some reason, they just didn't kind of fit with a team based on the note cards. So they were kind of like my oddballs. And that team included an autistic student who had a shadow with her, and it also included another resource student that got pulled out for special ed. So they truly were just this kind of random group of students, and I was worried that they wouldn't buy into the game just because they weren't really with their best friends. But they ended up winning, and it was so cool to see how they bonded through the process. And the rest of the class, thought they were just like the coolest people ever. So to go along with this story, the far right picture, Mr. Jim Morrison, he found out that we could not make it to the awards banquet. Just being out in Batesburg and being Title I, my principal, just didn't know much about the game. She didn't realize how big of a deal it was to win. And they would not send us, provide us a bus to get to the awards banquet. So, when our RCP said, sorry, we'd love to come, but we can't get transportation and their parents are all working. Mr. Jim Morrison offered to come out to the school to present the awards to those winning students. So we had a little kind of awards day at the end of the year, and he, told the whole school kind of more about the stock market game and presented the trophies. Well, in the midst of this, my sweet autistic student, her name is Rosalind, who I love dearly, grabbed the microphone from Mr. Jim Morrison and exclaimed, "I always knew I'd be famous." And then I think she said a little more, and you can see that's me in the picture trying to get the microphone back. But she just absolutely had the best day of her life. And that's thanks to the stock market game. So really after that first class, I was really hooked with the stock market game. I just saw how much the kids enjoyed it. And they were doing math, they were learning, they were researching, but they were having a great time doing it. So really after that, I knew that I was going to be competing every year that I could. All right, so that's kind of my story on why I love the stock market game. I wanted to get some of my students that played this past year, and there's one team that has been with me for 3 years. I just kind of wanted to get them to share their thoughts with all of you.
So awesome. Fantastic. Very fun. Creative. Informative. Interesting. My favorite part about doing the stock market game was being able to be on a team with two of my friends. I love competing in the stock market game because I'm always up for a challenge and I love doing things as a team. I'm super proud of my team this year because this is our third year doing it and none of us have quit and we all kept doing it. Even though sometimes you don't do as good because the stock market does change a lot, and even though we didn't win, we still had a lot of fun on our third year. I am very proud of our stock market team this year because it was our first time doing it and we had a lot of fun. Also, when we were having fun, we also won first place in the stock market game this year. If I hadn't joined the stock market team, I would have never learned how to buy or sell stocks in real life. If I never joined the stock market club, I would have never learned or known how much the stock market really moves. And you can kind of like see on the stock market like events that are happening right then and how much it can drop or increase a company. I would have never learned how to buy stocks or even just invest low and sell high when doing types of things if I had never been on the stock market teams. I have two pieces of advice for anyone that is going to just start doing stock market game, which one is just to not give up because the stock market does change a lot. And the second one is to just have fun because it's not all about winning and you can just have a lot of fun with your team and learn about the stock market. Some advice that I would give you would be that you should definitely join the game, and it doesn't matter about winning, it matters about having fun with your team. I think you should do a stock market team at your school in the future because it really helps people make new friends and it just kind of helps me get away from school to do math. Usually I'm not a big fan of math, but this really helped me want to learn about math. And I really like competing. So this combined something I do not really usually like and something that I love. So it just made it really enjoyable for me. And I definitely think you should think about doing a stock market team at your school. Teachers should definitely do stock market game at their school because it helped me build relationships with a lot of people and it is a lot of fun to learn about investing in the stock market throughout a game. Teachers should definitely host a stock market game at their school because it gives kids an opportunity to see how real investing is like through a game.
All right, so that is my first iMovie that I've made. So hopefully you could hear kind of the students' thoughts. And something that I really liked about their responses is there are several state winners in that group, and they didn't necessarily emphasize winning. You know, they said they enjoyed having fun, being on a team with others, collaborating, and then that they learned a lot. Okay, so now getting into playing the stock market game, just some basics. Grades 4 through 12 can compete. There are different divisions, so there's an elementary, middle, and high school division. Teams are usually made up of 3 to 5 students, and since virtual is kind of the new normal, they are allowing individuals to play as well, which is kind of a new thing. So the teams get $100,000, and I always remind them this is virtual money that they're going to be able to invest in real stocks. So a good thing to do is to, get them to brainstorm how much is $100,000, because once they go to invest, they want to invest like $50 here, $100 here. So really getting them to understand the magnitude of, you have $100,000. That's, kind of blows their mind at first when they realize how much that is that they have to invest. There's a fall, spring, and year-long competition. So the spring competition is about to gear up. I believe it starts on February 2nd. So you still have time to register and kind of get organized for competing in the spring. Each team will get a login and a password, and it'll be sent to you as the teacher. And then you'll disperse those out to the teams and kind of help them keep those organized. There are some specifics that you'll kind of discover along the way. Like there's a minimum amount you can invest. There's a maximum amount. I believe the maximum amount is close to $30,000. And then the trading times. So when they actually go put in a trade, it does not immediately go into the game. They have to log in the next day to kind of see that trade actually go through. So those are all things that you and your students will kind of discover along the way. And if you're nervous about, competing because you just have never had experience with the stock market or, finance, accounting, let me just tell you, I am a very average teacher. Again, I'm kind of elementary brained, and I have just really learned a lot alongside my students. They teach me probably more than I have taught them when playing the game. So there is lots of teacher support when you get your teacher login on the website if you need some extra resources. So I just wanted to kind of break down the different options you have when competing. So you can compete with your whole entire class, or if you have multiple classes, or I have done in middle school, I've done clubs. So in 4th grade, I did my entire class, and then in middle school, we're a little tighter on, our time, and so I opened it up as a club that met in the morning once a week. So just some pros and cons of both models. If you're doing it with your class, you can integrate your lessons and your math lessons or your econ lessons. You can kind of seamlessly integrate those with the content and build up that real world connection. So you can teach a lesson and then you can say, let's go look at our stock market page and let's look at these graphs that we just learned about in math. A con is if you're doing it with your whole class, there's a chance some won't want to participate or some don't buy in. And another pro, you really get to develop personal relationships through discovering their interest. And what I mean by that is, I encourage them to invest in stocks that they're interested in. So when you're going around to the different groups and you're like, hey, what stocks would you like to invest in? They might tell you a company that really connects to them, and they just go off on this interest that you had no idea that existed. And then you can really kind of have a conversation with them about that interest and kind of connect it again with the stock market game. So looking at doing a club model, one of my favorite mottos is no forced fun. So, I'm not forcing anyone to be in the club. It's all voluntary, which means that there's lots of engagement and genuine passion. Because if they're signing up and they're coming in the morning or the afternoon or at lunch, that means that they're truly interested in learning and playing the game. A con with a club means sometimes they won't come to meetings, or they might just kind of quit in the middle of the game since there is no forced fun. But I really have not seen that. Just because once they get started, they they really do get into it. And then one of my favorite parts about doing a club is you can really dive deep into financial literacy topics based on their interests and kind of what comes up or what's going on in the real world. And you don't have to worry about covering certain standards, and you can really just make it real for them. So talking about virtual, I have done virtual for the fall. That was my first time doing a virtual stock market team, and it was kind of a voluntary club. I kind of reached out to those who I thought maybe would be interested, and we went from there. So some tips, tricks, suggestions. If you're doing virtual, a Google form sign up can be kind of easily sent out to all of your students, or you can post like a QR code around school and they can scan it and then sign up and come to like an interest meeting. And then from there, you can, kind of decide who's really serious about it after you maybe do an interest meeting, and then create an email list so that you can just send out mass emails like once a week, keeping everyone updated. Just realized I'm talking about virtual, but talking about Google Forms. So Google Form would work in class, or if you're doing it virtual, you would email out to your class or post it on, we use Schoology, Google Classroom, whatever kind of platform y'all use. And then I did weekly Zoom meetings. We met during lunch on Fridays, which are all virtual days. So I wasn't on Zooms, but you could easily do it. You might have to work with your school just to see when you would be able to, but I really enjoyed doing it kind of during lunchtime. Google Docs will save your lives and your team's lives. They can share it with you so that they can kind of keep you updated and in the loop without actually having to be in contact with you. You can open up their team's Google Doc anytime and just see kind of where they're at with their investments. And I'm going to share Google Doc with you a little bit later, so you can kind of have a template for what that might look like. And then I kind of already mentioned this earlier. If you have a learning management system such as Schoology in place, that's a great spot for you to kind of create a page to house all of the useful resources. So again, if you have any major questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I can kind of answer those as this recording is going. So speaking of in the chat, go ahead, tell us which format could you possibly do in the spring. So coming up February 2nd, if you were to compete, would you look into competing with a voluntary club or your whole class or classes? And would you be competing with virtual teams or actual in-person teams? So go ahead and kind of put that in the chat, your thoughts there. And you can kind of see the rest of the group that's with us if you have that in common. And you might not be sure. So if you're not sure, you could just say that you'd have to think about it. So thank you again for sharing in the chat. I'll be looking at those live. So now that you know the basics and you kind of have the different models in mind, I'm going to share 2 quick sample lessons with you that you could use virtually in person with your classes or with a voluntary club. So this is what I would have on the screen for kids who were either coming into a Zoom or coming into an actual classroom. It just kind of has the agenda. I tell them to sit with their team, and of course, virtually I would take that off. And for each lesson, I have a tip of the week. So for the first week, my tip of the week is always buy low, sell high. And then I would kind of explain, today you're going to research some companies to invest in that you think are going to go up and not down. And then I have them think, if they're already kind of at the top, are they more likely to keep going up, or are they maybe going to come down? And there's not really a right or wrong answer. That's a true thinking question. So in a minute, I'm going to show you a really cool website that is very kid-friendly. You can see here's Netflix, here's Facebook. It gives the ticker symbol, the current stock price, and then if it's going up or down. And I think this is just like a daily up or down. So, if kids didn't know this buy low, sell high, they would see Netflix is going down and see red. They would think that's bad, and they would see Facebook's going up, and they would think, that's good. And it could be good if they're going to keep going up. But I have them look for a stock that is maybe going down that they think, well, Netflix is surely going to go up. I don't know why they're going down. They're just having an off week. That might be a really great investment. And they might think Facebook's already kind of at the top. I have a feeling they're going to kind of level out and go down a little bit. So we kind of have that discussion. And for a lot of them, this is the first time they've ever heard this. And it just kind of sets the tone for thinking about stocks. So after we kind of do that mini lesson, we have team time. So virtually, I would put them into breakout groups, and in class, they would actually be sitting with their group already. And here's kind of like what they're supposed to do during team time. For the first week, they're going to do stockpile research, and I'm going to show you what stockpile is in just a second. And then they would spend that time making a list of stocks that they might be interested in investing with, kind of as a team. They would have one Google Doc that one person, they can kind of nominate a leader, would share with the other teammates and myself. So there's one Google Doc that they're all kind of adding to, and I could easily hop on and check anytime I needed to or wanted to. And then just a reminder, look at the data and remember, and I always kind of bring it back to our weekly tip of the week, buy low, sell high. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of share with you the week 2 lesson, and then you're actually going to be put into breakout rooms to kind of experience what they would be experiencing with the research. So for week 2, the tip of the week would be invest smart, invest strong. So kind of tying it into the previous week or the previous day, now that you've done your research, invest strong. You have $100,000. Go big with your best research stocks. So that's just to kind of remind them, they want to invest $100. I remind them you have $100,000 and you just want to kind of find your best stocks and really go big with them. And I always tell them it's completely up to you, but that's just kind of the tip. Okay, so for the second week, I would actually show them how to enter trades on the stock market game, whereas the first week we were just kind of researching. So first week researching, second week they actually get to take those research stocks and enter them into the stock market game. And this is a student that I asked kind of the last minute. I said, hey, would you mind making a recording kind of showing future stock market players how to invest on the game? Because as a teacher, I don't have access to these particular screens. So I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but I was so impressed. This is a 6th grade student. She did not win this past year, or this past fall, but she really learned so much. And it was just really awesome to see her record this video last minute and just crush it.
Hi, my name is Charlie, and I'm going to be showing you how to use the stock market game website. First, you're going to want to log in, and your teacher is going to give you your username and password. And it will recognize your username later on after you've typed it in a few times. Right after you sign in, it's going to bring you to a page. It's going to say account info, and it's going to give you your teacher, the team nickname that you chose, and the region that you're in. For example, middle school here. It's going to give you your team rankings. So here I've got 100 out of 234. So 234 is the total amount of groups that are doing it, and 100 is the place that my group is in. So when you first go in, it's going to show you all of the groups, and it's going to show you how much money they have in the lead. And you can scroll through that to find yours. When you scroll down even farther, it's going to show you your total gains and losses. So how you've been doing that week, or over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month. Just how you've been doing each day, how you've been gaining money. And then it's just going to give you some ticker symbols at the bottom that you don't need to mess with. When you first come on here, I've got all these stocks here, but when you first come on, you're not going to have any stocks yet. So you're going to need to buy a stock. So you're going to go to trade. I hovered over that and pressed enter a trade. You're going to press stock trade. You're going to press buy. And you're going to need to put in a ticker symbol for which stock you want to invest in. So you are going to go to stockpile. And you're going to need to choose a stock. So I'm just going to look through. Let's see about American Airlines. I see that ticker symbol right there, and I'm going to look at the chart, specifically a little more maxed out, to see how it's doing. So it looks like it's heading up. It looks like it's doing pretty good. So I might want to invest in American Airlines, and its ticker symbol is AAL. So AAL. And I'm going to put the number of shares. It looked like it was pretty cheap, so I'm going to try to do 91, see how that goes. And I'm going to press preview trade. And I am going to make sure I'm 100% happy with everything I chose here. Then re-enter my password and press confirm trade. It will take 24 hours to update, but that will give you a stock to have invested in. So say it's been a week or two after you've invested in that, and you decided that's a bad stock. You don't want to invest in that because it is taking away money. So you're going to press enter a trade. And this time, still stock trade. In that button that you press buy, you're going to press sell. And the ticker symbol, it was AAL. So you want to sell that. And the number of shares, you bought 91, so you're going to sell 91. You don't like it one bit. And you're going to make sure you're 100% happy again. Re-enter your password, and you're going to press confirm trade. Remember, it will take 24 hours to update, but you will have that stock gone away for good within those 24 hours. Now, maybe it's been a while and you want to check on your stocks. So you're going to press portfolio, and you're going to go to account holdings. When you press that, you are going to see you're going to see a big pie chart that is going to have two colors, yellow and blue. Yellow stands for cash, how much money you still have, and blue stands for the stocks that you have, well, the amount of money that you've invested in on stocks. You're going to have your account holdings here, and it's going to have each of your stocks and how much you've been gaining or losing from them. So CPB, that is goldfish. So I noticed that's red, so that means it's losing money. It's losing $9.12. So I might want to think about, if I press trade there, then it is going to bring me here, and it's going to say enter a trade. Okay? That is pretty much how to work the stock market game, how to buy stocks, sell stocks, and check on your stocks. I hope you guys have fun.
All right. So again, that was a 6th grader. This was her first time playing, and she learned all of that virtually and just kind of through experiencing it with her team. So I was super impressed with how well she kind of explained the game. And she kind of showed you stockpile. So one thing I just have to clarify to them, and I try to really get it into their brains, is stockpile is their research tool. The stock market game is where you actually go in and put in your trades. So I just kind of emphasize that from the beginning, because stockpile, you saw when she first pulled it up, it was like, do you want to buy this or whatnot? So I just remind them Stockpile is research. They're not putting in any real money anywhere. And the stock market game, emphasis on game, that's where they're actually playing and investing. Now, there's only one thing that I would kind of change in her video as a math teacher. Now, if you're doing this as a club, just for fun, totally fine. But, as a math teacher, I really want to emphasize this formula for how to decide how many shares to buy. I think on her video, she said, it looks good. I'll just do about 91, which again, totally fine. No forced fun. But I keep trying to point them back to the math portion. So here's the formula. You take the amount you want to invest. So say you want to invest $20,000 in a stock, and you divide that by the current price. And that will tell you how many shares you want to buy. So again, that's kind of the only thing that I would change in her video, but super impressed with her. All right, so that video was actually, I would use that in future games kind of as a teaching point. So for team time for week 2, I would, tell them assign one teammate to log on to the stock market game. I don't think it works very well if all of them log in or trying to make trades. So I say one person's in charge of actually entering the trades. Assign one person to be the calculator that calculates how many shares they need to enter in. And then one person's kind of the researcher going to stockpile and checking on the current prices. And then I bring them back to our tip of the week: invest smart, invest strong. Okay, so now you are going to get a chance to kind of explore some resources, including stockpile and the Google Doc that I've kind of set up. So if you know how, if you'll rename your Zoom name, leave your name, but at the very front, if you'll just put one of these letters to represent which category you fall in. So E for elementary if you're an elementary teacher, M for middle, H for high school, and an O if you just fit into another category. So an example at the bottom, mine would be M and then Megan Freiberger. So we're going to do our best to put you in a breakout room with someone that is in the same age level as you, teaching the same, either elementary, middle, or high school, just so you can kind of have conversations about how you think you could fit this in to your class or with a club. And if there's someone in there that has competed before, they can kind of share their expertise and how it's worked for them. So in the breakout groups, of course, introduce yourselves, tell them where you're coming from, where you teach, if you're virtual or in person, and tell them if you've competed before, if so, how long. And I'm going to put this Google Doc in the chat right now. So you can go ahead and click on that when you see it in the chat. You don't need to share it, but of course, if you're doing this for real, you would get one person to open it and share it with the other teammates. But everyone can just go ahead and open it. It'll make you make a copy so you can kind of save this if you want to use it later on. Explore the link resources that are at the top. And then just kind of talk about, again, how you kind of see yourself using the stock market game in the future in your classrooms with your breakout groups. And there's also a link on the Google Doc, might be able to pull it up now, that will take you to the actual registration page. If you're like, I'm ready to go ahead and start registering, and you're just kind of hanging out in your breakout groups, you can click on this link and it'll take you to the sign up if you want to go ahead and get started on that, or just kind of see, what all you need to put in. But this is what the Google Doc looks like. There's 3 resources. Stockpile is the one I showed you. Then there's paper, napkin, finance, and a good stock visual by each category. So you can kind of explore those in your breakout groups. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, stop this, and we will come back together after you are done with your breakout groups. All right, sorry about that. Let me check my share options here to make sure everyone can have access to it. And let's see, anyone with the link? Copy link. All right, let's see if this one works here. Just give me a thumbs up if that one opens. That one work? Okay. So click on that second link. Sorry, I probably just had it so that it was shareable with my school. Okay, so if you couldn't figure out how to change your name, that's okay. You'll just be put into a group. So give me just 1 second. You kind of be previewing that Google Doc while I'm getting you into your groups. And we'll just be in these groups like 5 or so minutes so that we can come back together, make sure we end before 8. A lot of high school teachers on here. All right, so you're about to go to your groups. Everyone can open up the Google Doc again and just explore those resources, and I'll let you know when you have about 1 or 2 minutes left. And I am back live now, so hello everyone. So in the chat, if you'll just go ahead, kind of leave a comment in the chat about which resources you think will be interesting or useful for your groups if you do compete, and if you have a particular reason why you think they'll be useful. So go ahead and put that in the chat. Awesome. So again, the stockpile website, that was found by one of my 4th graders my first year. That's the secret sauce that I like to call. I think it's very kid friendly and incorporates graphs really easily to tie in with math. And then the other 2 links I actually learned from other financial literacy master teachers on webinars. So I don't know if any of them are in here, but I got the paper napkin finance and the visual from another webinar. So thank you for sharing. Before Chandler kind of ends us out with a cool opportunity for you guys, I just wanted to leave you with this visual. I saw this on social media the other day and I really enjoyed it. So I just want to encourage you, if you're competing, to remember to have fun with your kids and really take time to celebrate the learning process. And, don't just focus on the competition side or winning, but whether you have a team come in first place or last place, just really take time to celebrate everyone and how much they've accomplished throughout the game. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to turn it over to Chandler.
Yes, thank you so much, Megan. This was wonderful. Recording was great. I loved hearing from students. I think that's something that often we miss. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. One thing that I do want to share with you all, that since you spent time with us tonight, because Megan is a South Carolina financial literacy master teacher, and I know there are a couple other ones in here with us tonight. So shout out to those who are with us. But even if you are, or if you're not, you are eligible to receive $100 with that program just from being with us tonight and incorporating a financial literacy lesson in your classroom. So you all just learned about a financial literacy lesson that you can incorporate in your classroom. So if you plan on talking about the stock market or even doing the stock market game, you are eligible to fill out this survey, and I will send this link in a follow-up email that I'll send out tomorrow to all of you that are in, which will include Megan's presentation and our contact information, as well as where to sign up for the stock market game. But if you teach a lesson about financial literacy and you're willing to share with us some student work samples and a photo of you teaching that lesson, in conjunction with the 529 college savings plan with the state treasurer, he will send you guys all $100. And so remember, you'll be eligible for this if you're a master teacher and even if you're not. So everyone in here can do that. In addition, as SC Economics, we would really love to get your feedback as well as get you accounted for being here tonight with us live. As you know, if you join us in 3 or more sessions this spring, so this being 1, so 2 more, we'll send you a check for $50. So I just told you a way to get $150 in a matter of a couple of hours. So it's fantastic. If you'll take a few minutes to fill out the Google form that I just dropped into the chat. This is your evaluation form, just to let Megan know what a rock star job that she did, but also to give us any feedback or advice on how we can make these webinars better and more efficient for you. It'll also clock in that you have joined us for the whole session live, which gives you your credit. In addition, you guys keep hearing me talk about the South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teacher Program. The 3rd cohort, so our 3rd cohort just opened up on January 1st. We are taking 25 new teachers. So we are on the hunt for 25 exceptional teachers who really want to advocate for personal finance in their schools and within their districts. And so I will include information about that as well in the follow-up email. I'd love to see some of you join that program. You have the ability to earn up to $3,000 in 3 years with that program, thanks to the 529 College Savings Plan. The treasurer is taking it upon himself to really put a lot of the money that his organization makes and put it back into teachers' hands. And so we're lucky we just get to hand it out to you. So I'm going to stick around for a few minutes. If any of you have any questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, I'll hang out. When you join the stock market game, I am your coordinator. I'm the person that you'll reach out to if you have problems or questions. There are no dumb questions. Believe me, I have asked them all. So please feel free to hang out if you have questions. If not, if you'll make sure you get that evaluation that I dropped into the chat filled out, and then I am done with you. So thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Megan. This is wonderful. This is recorded and we will have it on our YouTube page by the end of the week. So if you want to go back and watch any portions of it, and like I said, I'll definitely send you guys out the presentation tomorrow in a follow-up. All right, thank you.